Today we're going to begin Chapter 2, and we're going to focus on functions, equations, and graphs. The first section, 2.1, will learn what a relation and a function is, and go through some vocabulary. What you need to do is have your example packet out and ready to fill in as you follow the video. First, you can read the essential understanding here. What we're looking at is two sets of items, and we are going to compare one set to the second set. And the definition of a relation is just that. It's a set of pairs. We can call them input and output values. We can represent relations in 4 different ways. Look at the first way here, as an ordered pair, like an XY coordinate. We're relating the input with the output. Next, you can draw a mapping diagram. On the left side, we have all our input numbers, and notice we draw arrows to the corresponding output. Again, arrows show how one pair connects to the other. We can make a table of values. It's like listing your ordered pairs in table format. You can make like a T-chart with your X's and your Y's, and then list each of the points. Or you can graph. So on an XY coordinate, you can plot each of the set of pairs. Its input, then to the output. Now let's move to our notes packet and try problem 1 together. Here we see a skydiver. When skydivers jump out of an airplane, they are experiencing free fall. And at specific times, they're at a different height. So you can see when they're in the plane, at 0 seconds before they jump, they're at a height of 10,000 feet. And then you can read the other seconds and the height that they're at. So let's take this paired items, or this relation, and represent it in the 4 different ways. The first way is a mapping diagram. So we can list all the time in the first grouping, and we have a time of 0 seconds, and then we have 4 seconds, 8 seconds, 12, and 16. Then we have our height in our next grouping. Our different height values are 10,000 feet, 9,744 feet, 8,976 feet, 7,696 feet, and 5,904 feet. So now to show the mapping, we're going to use arrows. At 0 seconds, we're at a height of 10,000, and we're going to draw an arrow. At 4 seconds, we're at 9,744 feet. At 8 seconds, draw our arrow. At 12 seconds, draw your arrow at the corresponding height, and same thing with 16 seconds. And there's our mapping. Next, we'll show the mapping as ordered pairs, and that's like putting your X and Y together in parentheses. So our first ordered pair, at 0 seconds, the skydiver was at 10,000 feet. Then at 4 seconds, the skydiver was at 9,744 feet. So you can continue with the other 3 times. At 8 seconds, 8,976, and so on. Now let's represent the relation as a table of values. So we're going to make a T-chart. And the X column will be our time, and the Y column will be our height. So our first pair of 0 seconds will correspond to 10,000 feet. Our 4 seconds to 9,744 feet, and so on. The final way to represent our relation is on a graph. Here we have a graph, and we are going to have our time along the x-axis and our height along the y-axis. We want to label our axes. Along the bottom, I'm going to count by 2s. So starting at 0, I'll then have 2, 4, 6, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, and so on. Along the height side, I'm going to have a break in the graph because we're going to jump up pretty high. And I'm going to start at 5,000 and then count by thousands. Now let's begin to plot each pair. The first pair of 0 seconds and 10,000 feet will be up here at the top. Our next point at 4 seconds we will be at 9,744 feet. Next, at 8 seconds, we'll be at 8,976. At 12 seconds, you'll find us at 7,696. And then finally, at 16,000, the diver will be at 5,904. So here we plotted the points. This brings us to two definitions. The first word is domain, and domain is the set of inputs, or all the x coordinates will be the domain. So the domain are the x's. Then we have the range, and the range is the set of outputs, or the y's. So the range are the y's. So that brings us to example 2. So in problem 2, they want us to look at problem 1 and list the domain and range of the relation. So the domain will be the set of all the inputs, or the x values. And those were the time, 0 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, 12 seconds, and 16 seconds. So this would be the set of our domain. The range are the y values, or the outputs, or all the different heights. So we had 10,000, 9,744, 8,976, then we had 7,696, and then finally 5,904. So again, the domain were the x values, and the range are the y values.